Hi, Rick. Good to be on the show.
This seems to be China signaling that they're ready to challenge the U.S. in an arms race. Tell us what you know about this story, please.
This is a very significant story. It has to do with what they call hypersonic weapons. That is, weapons that travel between 5 times and 10 times the speed of sound. And it's been likened to a new revolution in military affairs brought on the last time by the development of nuclear weapons. These are ultra-high-speed weapons. They can travel just at about underneath in space at the very highest levels of the atmosphere. And China just surprised the world by testing one of their first hypersonic vehicles, which can be used to deliver nuclear weapons or conventional weapons. Now, the U.S. is also doing this, and Russia as well. So it looks like we're in the middle of a new hypersonic arms race, as I like to say.
How long has this race been going on?
This is really cutting-edge technology, this hypersonics.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult challenge. It's probably only in the last 5 to 10 years that it's gone from the drawing board into the actual vehicles. The U.S. has 2 types that they're testing. One is powered and one is unpowered. We also have a space plane that's been orbiting since December of 2012. The reason that it's difficult to do this is because of these enormous speeds. It's been likened to driving a race car at 3 feet per second and seeing a pothole and then trying to maneuver around it. These hypersonic vehicles have to have that kind of maneuverability while sustaining these ultra-high speeds.
As you know, as we all know, Bill, that there's a limited number of countries which have the nuclear weapon, and there's always a concern by the world community to limit who gets access to nuclear weapons. What about these hypersonic weapons? Are they cost prohibitive for many nations? Are they, as this thing develops, as you say, over the last 5-10 years, as the technology and the awareness of how to create these weapons improves, how accessible are they to nations to develop?
It takes a pretty advanced industrial base to be able to do that, defense industrial base. The Russians are, like I said, they're also doing this. During the Soviet period, the Russians tested hypersonic vehicles. The U.S., I said, has 3. The Chinese are relatively new to the game. The experts that I talked to said that there have been thousands of papers by the Chinese in recent months describing how they're going to do this. Basically, it involves having an onboard navigation system that is corrected by celestial navigation as well as satellite GPS navigation. So it requires a very high degree of technological proficiency to be able to, first of all, get a rocket booster to get this thing going at ultra-high speed, and then second, being able to guide it to its target.
As you say, this was a surprise that China launched this first test. What has the reaction been in the Pentagon or within U.S. military intelligence circles? How concerned are they? Or was this something they knew would inevitably occur in terms of China's march towards military supremacy?
Well, the Pentagon confirmed that this test took place on January 9th. They declined to comment further, saying that their assessments of foreign military developments are classified. The experts I talked to who are engaged a lot with the government said that this is definitely a surprise. It also comes at a time in January when China has been known to unveil numerous high-tech capabilities. If you go back to 2007, they conducted the first anti-satellite missile test. They blew up a satellite and created tens of thousands of pieces of dangerous debris which are still floating up in orbit. Then in 2010, they did a missile defense test in January of 2010. And in 2011, they tested their first stealth fighter during the visit of then Defense Secretary Robert Gates.
Speaking of Robert Gates, you took me to my next segment there, a segue there, Bill Gates, Bill Gertz, Bill Gates, Robert Gates. Robert Gates is in the news now, of course, with his new book, the memoirs. Now he's speaking out. Over the weekend, he said that the only passion that he saw from President Barack Obama as it relates to the military was passion over don't ask, don't tell. You're a national security reporter. You've been following these types of stories for years, and you know the lay of the land. When you hear someone like a Robert Gates come out and say such a thing, do you think he's trying to embarrass the White House? Do you think he's trying to send a message to President Obama?
You know, I've covered Robert Gates for 25 years, going back to his days at CIA. Basically, I think what he has done is kind of blow the whistle on the Obama administration. He's kind of put a lot of meat on the bones of what critics, including myself, have said, which is that the Obama administration has politicized in a left liberal direction literally every facet of U.S. national security and foreign policy. And that, to me, is a very serious problem. I think Gates was courageous in highlighting it in his book. I thought maybe he should have done a similar thing when he was still Defense Secretary. Instead, he kept quiet and soldiered on. It was only until he wrote the book that he exposed some of these things. I'm waiting to see the book. I haven't read it, but it sounds like it's going to be an interesting read.
You know, Bill Gertz, you're the first person I've heard come out and articulate the words that the message that you just did, is that Robert Gates was concerned that President Barack Obama was politicizing military issues. And as I listened to your response, I think you're probably exactly right. And as you say, you've covered the man for 25 years. That is an important message, and it's one that should be told. And like you, I'm just a little disappointed that he did soldier on, as you say, and not come out with this story earlier. Again, Bill Gertz, Washington Free Beacon, we thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. It's you know, again, that's an